Will your relationship with the U.S. change now that President Donald Trump will be in the White House come 5 days from now?
Look, Ukraine during the last 3 years gained a very strong bilateral support in the United States. This is support of the American people. This is support of the American Congress, both House and Senate. And this was, I'm absolutely confident, that would be support of the previous and future administration. No doubt about that.
President, do you plan to meet President Trump to make sure that the loan guarantees that the U.S. provided will continue to be there?
This is not only economic question. This is a significant importance of the political importance of this meeting. And I was one of the first world leader to whom President Trump called immediately after the election. And we have quite a promising conversation. We agreed that immediately after inauguration, we agreed the date of my visit to Washington, D.C., and the agenda of our negotiation would be quite big.
We speak, Mr. President, on Bloomberg Surveillance with all sorts of people with varied opinions on the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, whether it's Admiral James Stavridis, whether it's Joseph Nye, the great student of international relations and power. Define for us the NATO you need after we saw the president-elect say NATO is a thing of the past.
Look, I'm absolutely confident that the world needs NATO, because after Russia violated and completely ruined when Russia annexed the Crimea, and when Russia make an aggression on the east of my country, Russia completely destroyed post-war global security system based on the Security Council of the United Nations. And the NATO left the only effective security mechanism in the world. And that's why this is not only very important for the member state, but this is very important for the global security.
Do you perceive it as a new isolationism? Do we hearken back to the 1930s when you hear the rhetoric from the president-elect?
I hate the idea actually to command that. I am confident that the future for, on contrary, removing all the barrier in international trade, this is the policy of my country. That's why immediately after I was elected, I signed up the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement with the European Union. And now within the 2.5 years, we increased our turnover with the European Union from 31 to 40%. This is the results of the free trade agreement. We just weeks ago signed up with our Canadian partners a new free trade agreement between Canada and Ukraine. And today we speak with the Chinese leader, President Xi, about the expanding our cooperation with China, including the acceleration for providing the Trade and Economic Commission, which should happen in the first half of the year, and agreed about the very practical steps which we undertake in the very immediate future to expand the cooperation between Ukraine and China. That's why I doubt that it would be any other alternative. If the world should provide the economic growth, then isolationism is not a good idea from my point of view.
President Poroshenko, can you just update us on what it would mean for Ukraine if the U.S. were to repeal sanctions on Russia?
Look, this is the question not about Ukraine, absolutely. This is the question, again, about the global security. If you allow anybody to make an aggression against the sovereign and independent country just for their wishes to reform the country, to be Western, to build up Western-style democracy, to fight for the freedom and democracy, this is the question of value, not the question of sanction. And I want to remind you that we have a Budapest Memorandum when the United States of America take the obligation to defend and to support our sovereignty and territorial integrity when we voluntarily give up our nuclear weapons.
And President, at the same time, a lot of people have been asking why the West was not quicker to react. But if the U.S. does repeal these sanctions, does it mean that the EU will also lift sanctions against Russia?
Look, if you're asking me who is the person to influence the most to lift the sanction, this is the president of Ukraine. And if this sanction would be lifted when Russian troops get out from the Ukrainian soil, when they stop the occupation, this is exactly what we need. We don't need anything more, because immediately, and we demonstrate that on the territory which would be freed from Russian occupation, we demonstrate a significant development of this territory. We don't have any tiny problem with the people on this territory.
There was a photograph yesterday put out by Ian Bremmer, the great international relationship with Eurasia Group. And Dr. Bremmer had a photo of the last one standing in Europe of the leaders, Hollande leaving, Renzi gone. And there was Chancellor Merkel alone. What do you need from Chancellor Merkel this year?
Look, this is a very simple question, because all the time I'm telling that we, Ukraine, and me as Ukrainian president, need from European Union, not only from Germany, just two things. First is a unity. Unity of European Union. This is the vital, not only for Ukraine, but for the European Union itself and for the world. And second, the solidarity with Ukraine. And yesterday I have a very long phone conversation, both to the President Hollande and Chancellor Merkel, and we confirm our effective cooperation in the format of the Normandy, and we agreed about the agenda of the very next day or weeks. And with that situation, I'm optimist. I think that no matter who would be the leaders of the European Union, this is the question for the future of the European Union, and this is in the interest both Ukraine and the people of the European Union member states.
President Poroshenko, I know you're meeting the IMF and Christine Lagarde here in Davos. When do you expect the next disbursement from that aid money, and in what amount?
That's a very good question, because Ukraine, before end of the year 2016, fulfilled everything we have in a memorandum. We're finishing. The last question was the stability of the banking system, nationalization, the biggest Ukrainian bank, private bank, which was the danger for insolvency. We solved this question, and I'm confident that in a very few, let's say, days or weeks, we should have a board meeting, and we should have this effective cooperation with the IMF. That would be not only the money, the most important thing, this is the message for the investor. Please come to Ukraine this time.
Mr. President, I have to ask you this question. There is a comedy program, Saturday Night Live, in the United States, and they have been doing spoofs of President Trump. And there is the actor Alec Baldwin playing Mr. Trump, and we just noticed he had a Russian pin on his lapel. Address to the American people how they should respond to Mr. Trump suggesting that Mr. Putin is his good friend. You and the people of Ukraine have lived this for any good number of years, including Crimea and your eastern regions. How should America respond to a president that feels he has a unique dialogue with Mr. Putin?
That's a good question. First of all, I think that this is any unique dialogue as of now. But I think that the President Trump has a unique opportunity now to use all his influence to support us in our fighting for freedom and democracy. And if this negotiation would be successful, and if as a result of this negotiation Russia take off their troops from Ukrainian soil, release the Crimea, and that would be absolutely important and positive. At least I think that the window of opportunity still exists. And with that situation, American people certainly support this idea. And if situation would have any other development, which is also possible, because unfortunately too many people do not trust Putin, and we have a reason for that. And with that situation, I think that it would be quite a big importance of the very first steps of Mr. Trump on the position of the President of the United States.
You've just lodged a complaint, a formal complaint, right, with the International Courts of Justice. Is this to keep the conflict in the public eye so that people continue to talk about it, or are you actually expecting something that will change the conflict?
No, we use any opportunity we have in our hands to motivate Russia to get out from our territory. Of course, we will use only political and diplomatic means, but at the same time, we build up the strong army, we provide the effective reform, we do more in reform than for the previous 23 years, and we also use the legal instrument, because this is using the United Nations Convention on the prevention, the financing terrorism, and United Nations Convention for the responsibility for the violation of the human rights, and we use both these conventions. We have more than enough evidence, and we make a long preparation, only 45 notes of our foreign minister, only 20 meetings was for every cases, and yesterday it's happened. We filed Ukrainian appeal for International Court in Hague against Russia to be responsible for the aggression they make against our country for the illegal annexation of the Crimea.